If you want to make your own pesto, get your own pesto plant. Even if you live in an apartment or a condominium, you can grow it on a balcony. You can grow it inside in a window. Now this pot is fairly large. I bought a small pesto plant and I finally did what the grower suggested. I planted it in a larger clay pot. I bought this clay pot. It's very cheap, and then I painted it. That's why doesn't have that clay look anymore. But it grew into this beautiful plant, and now it's October. It's probably a little overgrown because I don't use it enough. But we're going to cut off enough leaves today for 2 cups of the basil leaves, and that's packed, not lightly in a measuring cup, but 2 cups of packed leaves. All right, so I got my scissors ready. I'm going to chop some off. The next thing I do to make the pesto is I take all of the leaves and I pull them off all of these stalks that I've cut off. Now, the thing is that I want to tell you, if you're going to grow your own basil, you don't want the basil stalks to grow so far that you get this little flower on the top. It just means, the flower means it's too old. So you want to cut that off and use it before it starts to get to this flowering stage. It just might not taste as good as the stalks, the leaves that come off the stalks that don't have a little flower. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just pulling them off, and I'm putting them into my salad spinner colander bowl. And if you don't have a salad spinner, that's fine. Then just put them in a colander and rinse them off. And after you rinse them off, roll them in some paper towel just to get as much water off them as possible. And then you just throw out the little stem. And I'm going to, I just guessed how much basil to pull off the plant in order to get 2 cups of packed leaves. So if you don't have enough, you can just go outside and get more. So I'm not going to make you watch me pull all these leaves off, but I'll show you what we do after this. You're going to need the equivalent of 2 garlic cloves, and you want to crush them. So take your knife, a big knife is better, but you can do it with a little knife, put it on top, and press down with your hand, and that makes crushed garlic. You can also, if it's a big clove, you can cut it. So 2 full-size garlic cloves. I want to show you how I'm going to pack the basil leaves into a 1 cup measuring cup. I said packed, so it means that when they're all pressed down completely, that's 2 cups. So it can be quite a lot of leaves, but it makes a really nice, intense pesto. So here I'm still pressing down, but see, I still have space. So pressing down, and that's about 1 cup, but I need 2 cups. So I'm going to dump this into my food processor, and then I've got a second cup to do. And the bigger leaves are a little hard, so, they flip out of the thing. So what I see in my salad spinner colander here, this is going to make 2 cups. So I'm going to put them all into the food processor. Now let me tilt the camera so you can see the food processor, because that's the next part we're going to do. So I'm going to put them all in here. So when they're not pressed down, it just looks like a lot of basil. All right. And the next thing I'm going to put in here is 1/4 cup of olive oil, and just drizzle that around. We're going to do 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I use a Celtic sea salt, a Himalayan salt. Sea salt is okay too. So 1/2 teaspoon. And then we have 2 more ingredients. One we're going to put in now. That's the garlic that you just pressed, the 2 garlic cloves. And now we're going to turn on the food processor. And you might have to stop it every now and then to press it down. You want all the leaves chopped. I have one last ingredient. It's a 1/4 cup of pine nuts, and the pine nuts are raw. That means they're not roasted and they're not salted. Now, if you don't have pine nuts are expensive, you can use a 1/4 cup of chopped walnuts, and walnuts need to be raw also, not roasted, not salted. And you only want to process it so you can still see some pieces of the pine nuts. You don't want to process it so much where the pine nuts get all creamy. And I'm going to scrape it down one more time. Some pine nuts got, my hand is in the way of the camera probably, but some of the pine nuts get and we're done. I'm going to taste it. You'll notice I didn't put any cheese in this. This is why it's dairy-free. Now, if you want to do dairy, then you could grate some Parmesan at this point, maybe 1/8 of a cup. You might be able to get away with a 1/4 cup, I'm not sure. Oh, that's really good. This is great on pasta. It's really good. If you spread it on bread and put on a slice of tomato, it's delicious. It'll refrigerate for a few days. It doesn't last as long as in the refrigerator as store-bought pesto. But if you really like pesto, this is a good way to go. So that's how to make dairy-free homemade pesto.